In 2008, Kieran Egan proposed a concept of schooling that was based on creativity and imagination in classroom design. This article by Derek Bland was inspired by research suggesting that school design based upon Egan's concept should look to young people for ideas that can lead to creatively engaging environments and pedagogy. Research has identified a close relationship with learning environments and learning outcomes. It is becoming more frequently suggested that students and teachers should have more of an input in school design, as their ideas are essential. Research is suggesting that imposing traditional teaching and learning methods reduces imaginative and creative pedagogical relationships. Bland took all of this information on board and conducted a research project that identifies students' concepts of the ideal educational space. The participants. Schools across Queensland were invited to participate in the research project, with 9 schools accepting the offer. The students participating in this project were in grades 5 and 6 between the ages of 9 and 11, and there were a total of 133 participants in the study. The project. Students were to draw their ideal school and submit a 200-word supplement that was able to enhance their image or to explain why they chose the elements they drew. Students had no restrictions on their drawing, such as health and safety concerns or budget restrictions. The analysis. Analysis software was used to analyse the submissions to identify the themes in both visual and written submission elements. There were 2 forms of analysis done. Firstly, using software to identify the themes, and secondly, imagination was analysed through 4 typologies. The analysis performed by software identified the themes animals, where suggestions included farms and petting zoos. The animals allowed for the learning and understanding of animal welfare. Trees and plants were suggested, mainly food producing, as they allow for the learning about the environment and healthy eating, as well as providing food. Water. Suggestions included waterfalls, creeks, duck ponds, on the ocean and under the sea. These allowed for comforting sounds while working and various other educational elements relating to water. Environmental awareness, with the use of solar panels and direct sunlight, as well as solar and wind-powered technology. Colour, where students suggested things like rainbows and lots of colours inside buildings. There was also an emphasis on sports and creativity. Imagination was able to be analysed through an analytical tool that comprised of 4 major typologies of imagination. These included fantasy, creativity, criticality, and empathy. Written accompaniments to drawings were essential to understanding and correctly interpreting the visual submissions. For example, an initial interpretation of a drawing of a girls' school was that gender was essential to the environment. However, the written submission that went with this visual piece said, "I drew a girls' school because I'm a girl, and it's easy for me to draw a girl." When analysing the results by type of imagination, Green in 1995 and Wright Mills in 2001 claimed that critical and empathetic imaginations were the key tools in addressing education reform. Firstly, there was fantasy. There was a vast range of fantasy suggestions that emerged in student submissions, including dragons pulling carriages, tree houses, schools on planes, and lessons in space. Secondly, the empathetic imagination. Students considered the needs of others, with suggestions such as segregated areas for younger students, and considered the needs of school staff. There were suggestions of fruit and vegetable gardens for students that didn't have lunch, and suggestions where schools were places where no one was mean and no one got hurt. And finally, themes that emerged in critical imagination. This is where the creative imagination challenges power structures or disrupts existing models. Some critical suggestions included reducing the school day or the school week. However, no students actually challenged the authority of the school or of the idea of attending school. So what are the implications of these results? The results showed a parallel to the results of a study by French and Hill in the US in 2004, who found that students would like to integrate colour, light, and interesting spaces to their learning environments. French and Hill minimised the impact of more imaginative suggestions in the US, from ideas such as theme parks and roller coasters being integrated through paintings and various other design elements. In 2010, Thomas challenged the ideas of traditional learning spaces by suggesting that more learning occurs in informal learning spaces that are not necessarily designed for learning, and stated that this realisation lies at the heart of liberating learning from a form of physical imprisonment. It was identified through the results that the main emphasis of student submissions was fun and well-being. Students identified the primary purposes of schools as places that promote and stimulate learning and teaching that enables learning to be as fun and relevant as possible. From their submissions, it can be seen that students believe that learning should be away from the classroom environment, in locations that enable students to learn hands-on wherever possible. The environment should be fun, eco-friendly, and imaginative. I believe that these results show the power of imagination and give quite a broad concept of how students believe that they will learn best. This study leads me to question what effects the environments that the students suggested would actually have on their learning, whether the changes would be beneficial or whether they would provide too many distractions. I believe that hands-on learning, where appropriate, can be more beneficial to students, and environments that are inspired by creativity and imagination can in turn provide inspiration and spark creativity and imagination in students. More imagination and innovation in the design of educational spaces may allow for further creativity and pedagogical styles that teachers implement in the classroom. Educational spaces with limits that are less strict may allow for more creativity in the way that students are taught and the information that they learn.